The drama begins by showing a scene where a young general takes over his dad's position. His name is General Nai Zhen, and he's part of the Nai family, who are pretty well known and powerful in the city. Besides this, General Nai Zhen is known for liking big parties a lot, and he has a reputation for being really harsh. One day, General Nai Zhen had an unexpected visitor in his office. It was an intruder named Hu Dai, a servant of the Shen family. Hu Dai had been apprehended while trying to obtain a travel permit for her master. Despite being caught, she bravely asked for her release. Surprisingly, General Nai Zhen decided to set her free. However, he still kept her travel permit. But then, Hu Dai managed to snatch General Nai Zhen's gun and used it to threaten him into giving her the travel permit. In the end, she left with the coveted travel permit in her possession. When he went to go after her, he actually stopped himself because he found her attractive and courageous. On the other hand, Hu Dai hurriedly made her way to her master's house, who happened to be the eldest princess of the Shen family named Shen King Xia. Interestingly, the Shen family had received a marriage proposal from the Nai family. However, when King Xia learned that Nai Zhen had a reputation for being cruel and unruly, she decided to escape the marriage, this making Hu Dai steal the travel permit to help King Xia get away. Unfortunately, while King Xia was waiting for Hu Dai, she was drugged and mistreated by several Chinese military officers, which ultimately led to her death. Hu Dai felt deeply regretful because she arrived too late to help. When she returned to the Shen family residence, she falsely claimed that King Xia had run away instead of dying. When the day of the marriage proposal arrived, Nai Zhen visited the Shen family's residence. Mr. Shen, who feared the Nai family's power and influence, eventually told Hu Dai to disguise herself as King Xia. He told her to do that because Hu Dai was determined to uncover the identity of the officer responsible for King Xia's abuse and death. When Nai Zhen laid eyes on Hu Dai, who was posing as King Xia, he didn't object because he found the situation becoming quite intriguing. He then invited Hu Dai to stay temporarily at the Nai family home to talk about their wedding plans. At first, the Shen family, including King Xia's younger brother Shen Doran, had refused Nai Zhen's proposal. However, due to the overwhelming influence of the Nai family, Mr. Shen was eventually compelled to agree to Nai Zhen's request. While they were in the car, Nai Zhen spotted Hu Dai in a clever disguise. But Hu Dai insisted that she was King Xia. However, Nai Zhen pointed out the small hole in Hu Dai's ear with a scar and her tight shoes. These were clear signs that she wasn't the real Shen family heir. Nai Zhen suspected that she was pretending to help with the Shen family's internal issues, so he decided to play along with her. Once they reached Nai Zhen's house, he made it clear that he was in charge. He also warned Hu Dai not to think her life was more important than anything else because to him, his favorite pen was worth more than her. Therefore, Hu Dai had to follow his orders. The next day, Hu Dai received an invitation from Nai Zhen to pick out a wedding dress. She tried on several dresses, but Nai Zhen didn't seem pleased with any of them. This frustrated Hu Dai, and it was only the last dress she tried on that he liked. He said it suited her, but she didn't really like it. Unexpectedly, Nai Zhen got angry, called the shopkeeper, and shot him dead. This scared Hu Dai, and Nai Zhen told her that while she might be smart, he was braver when it came to taking lives. So, Hu Dai had to keep her patience around him. When she got back home, she was still afraid and decided to sleep in the bathtub. The next morning, Nai Zhen waited for Hu Dai in the room and asked the servant to make ginger tea for her. When he went to work, his bodyguard noticed that he hadn't slept all night, thinking about Hu Dai. On the other hand, Hu Dai searched Nai Zhen's room to find out why he wanted to keep her. After a while, she discovered a note where he had recorded the date of the incident and the compensation he would pay. The name of the dress shop they visited yesterday was also on the list. Soon after, Hu Dai went to the dress shop again and met the shop owner, who was alive and unharmed. After pressuring the shop owner, Hu Dai finally learned that Nai Zhen had intentionally set up the incident from yesterday and paid the shop owner. This revelation made Hu Dai realize that Nai Zhen was purposefully creating a bad image for himself in the public eye. On her way home, she ran into Doran, who wanted to take her back with him. Turns out, Doran had feelings for Hu Dai, but she turned him down because she was committed to her plan of using the Nai family's influence to uncover King Xia's murderer. When she returned to Nai Zhen's residence, Hu Dai met Nai Zhen and explained that he was making his reputation bad because he didn't want to be appointed as the great general of China. He actually hated war because his mother had died in battle. So Nai Zhen intended to use Hu Dai as a fake King Xia to expose her true identity and embarrass the Nai family during the wedding ceremony. If his plan succeeded, he wouldn't become the ruler. To his surprise, Hu Dai had already figured out his scheme. Then, they made a deal that Naizhen would leverage Hu Dai's position, and in return, Hu Dai would seek compensation for the Shen family and ask Naizhen to help her find someone. Once they had reached an agreement, they decided to show their affection in front of reporters by sharing a kiss, signifying their upcoming wedding. On the wedding day, Doran entered the dressing room and asked Hu Dai to leave. Hearing that, she refused, so Doran pulled out a knife and attacking Naizhen. Surprisingly, Naizhen defended himself with his bare hands, injuring himself in the process. As he prepared to retaliate, Hu Dai stepped in to shield Doran and pleaded with Naizhen to let him go. Naizhen, not wanting any trouble at the wedding, eventually allowed Doran to escape. When the wedding ceremony began, instead of revealing Hu Dai's true identity and causing chaos as initially planned, Naizhen confessed his love to her. This left Hu Dai feeling confused, but she went along with the wedding vows. Just as they were about to share a kiss, Naizhen informed Hu Dai that it was all just an act. At the wedding, Hu Dai took care of the wound on Naizhen's hand. Then she asked him why he hadn't gone through with his plan. Naizhen explained that she, as servant, had boldly tried to get a travel permit. He also mentioned how she could make a young general like him furious enough to want to harm someone. In fact, she had managed to discover his hidden intentions, so intentionally he kept her around, hoping she might be helpful later on. After that, Naizhen openly confessed that he was starting to become interested in Hu Dai. Naizhen then presented a contract to her, stating that he would help her investigate King Shi's killer. In return, Hu Dai had to agree to pose as his wife. Afterward, they both sealed the deal in their unique way, which by making a sign with their lips. Later on, Hu Dai stumbled upon Naizhen's badge, identical to the one King Xia had. The next morning, while talking with Naizhen, she recalled the badge from the previous night. Convinced that Naizhen was the murderer, she mimicked a gun with her finger and pointed it at his forehead. In response, he bit her hand as a warning. After Naizhen went to work, Hu Dai took some traditional medicine recipes to Naizhen's father's study, who's named Naifeng. Not long after, Naifeng's second wife, Liu, showed up. Turns out Liu didn't like Naizhen, and she'd seen Hu Dai with Doran a while back. So Liu kinda looked down on Hu Dai, but Hu Dai didn't take it lying down. She quickly responded to Liu, which made Liu angry, and she ended up slapping Hu Dai. Just then, Naizhen returned home and immediately came to Hu Dai's defense. Liu got even more annoyed and stormed off to her room. Naizhen then carried Hu Dai and noticed her sprained leg. Then, he gently massaged her feet to help her feel better. In the evening, Hu Dai pretended to shape her finger like a gun, like she was going to shoot Naizhen in the head. She actually wished she had real bullets. The next day, she intentionally left the house without a guard to head to the Shen family residence. Eventually, Hu Dai revealed the truth about King Shi's death. Doran finally found out and agreed to team up with her to catch and punish Naizhen. Surprisingly, Hu Dai also joined forces with Commander Wang Ping, who happened to be Liu's younger brother, to frame Naizhen. When they reached their destination, Doran aimed his gun at Naizhen, but it turned out the gun was empty, surprising everyone. In response, Naizhen signaled to a secret agent standing by Commander Wang Ping to shoot him as a sign that their plan had failed. Then, Naizhen called Hu Dai, who was still in shock, and took her back home. Back at the Nai residence, Hu Dai looked upset and accused Naizhen of being King Shi's murderer. She explained that she had evidence, and it was a badge that belonged to Naizhen, which was identical to the one worn by King Shi's killer. Naizhen, aware that she suspected him because of the badge, revealed that he is father, and the three main Chinese commanders all had the same badge. This revelation shocked Hu Dai, realizing she had accused the wrong person. Curious about why Naizhen didn't get angry or punish her, Hu Dai asked. Then, Naizhen replied that he hated the situation and certain people, but still held sincere feelings for her. After hearing that, she started to be moved by his kind gestures. The following day, Doran said his goodbyes to Hu Dai as he had business to attend to in South China. Naizhen was also there, waiting by her side. After a while, Naizhen checked his watch and asked Doran to cut short their conversation. He also prevented Doran from giving Hu Dai a farewell hug, and he eventually departed. Just before getting into the car, feeling a bit jealous, Naizhen took the cake Doran had given to Hu Dai and had a bite. He said he wanted to check if there was any anesthesia in it. Hu Dai found Naizhen's actions amusing. Then, when they reached their destination, Naizhen didn't immediately get out of the car because Hu Dai had fallen asleep on his shoulder. Eventually, she woke up, and he gave her a piece of her favorite cake. In that moment, they shared another kiss. Sometime later, Naizhen started investigating the 3 commanders who had the same badge as him. However, these commanders had proof that they weren't near the murder scene. This raised suspicions for Naizhen, and he hurried back home. At the same time, Hu Dai had just returned and overheard Naifeng admitting that he had done something wrong to a girl when he was drunk 10 days ago. Furious, she intentionally nicked Naifeng's face while helping him shave his beard. She then waited for Naizhen to return so she could seek revenge on him. Surprisingly, Hu Dai had spread oil throughout the house with the intention of setting Naifeng on fire. When Naizhen finally arrived home, he found Hu Dai holding an oil lamp. She told him goodbye because she had found the person she was seeking to avenge King Xia, and her plan was to burn down the Nai family house with Naifeng and herself inside. But Naizhen stopped her and confessed that he hated his father the most because his father had caused his mother's death. The two of them struggled over the oil lamp, neither wanting to let go. Unexpectedly, a woman appeared and cleaned the oil lamp, calling Hu Dai Ting Cheta. Hearing that, Hu Dai and Naizhen were surprised. Then the woman introduced herself as Bing Bing and claimed to be a friend of King Xia who worked as a doctor. Bing Bing had learned that Naifeng was unwell, so she had volunteered to check on him. Finally, they returned to the room, and Naizhen started to suspect Bing Bing's true identity. However, Hu Dai didn't want to reveal it. The next day, Naizhen got a report that Bing Bing was using a fake identity. Meanwhile, in another place, Hu Dai had a polite conversation with Bing Bing. It turned out that Bing Bing was actually King Xia, who had faked her death and was planning to bring down the Nai family. At that time, Hu Dai expressed her willingness to help King Xia, even though she was also worried about Naizhen. One evening, Hu Dai invited Naizhen to have a drink and chat. Now that they both knew Bing Bing's true identity was King Xia, Naizhen suspected that the wine they were drinking had been intentionally prepared by King Xia. But for the sake of Hu Dai, Naizhen still drank it. Although Hu Dai knew that Naizhen's feelings were genuine, she couldn't abandon King Xia, who had done so much for her. Surprisingly, Naizhen didn't feel dizzy at all, but Hu Dai started feeling weak, and her body became hot. The next day, King Xia had breakfast with Naifeng, who flirted and teased her because Liu was not at home. Later on, Hu Dai confronted King Xia and asked why she had deceived her by putting medicine in the wine. Hu Dai began to realize that her master was acting like a stranger. As time passed, King Xia started to plot against the Nai family and secretly poisoned Hu Dai, using her to weaken Naizhen's power. Upon learning about Hu Dai's condition, Naizhen rushed to King Xia to ask for an antidote. King Xia explained that the antidote was very rare and that only one person in the city had it. She gave Naizhen the person's address and promised to look after the house. Shortly after, Hu Dai, still looking pale from her fainting spell, encountered Bing Bing and wanted to gauge how far King Xia would go. To Hu Dai's shock, King Xia had killed Liu because Liu wasn't friendly towards her. King Xia even admitted to using Liu's blood as fertilizer for the flowers in the Nai family garden. This gruesome revelation left Hu Dai shivering, making her think that King Xia had crossed a line. But King Xia explained that she did all this because of Hu Dai. The story then shifted to the past, where King Xia was saved by a doctor named Zhao Ying. At that time, Zhao Ying encouraged King Xia to keep living and seek revenge against those who had suffered like him, which meant destroying the Nai family. Zhao Ying intentionally provided documents that suggested Hu Dai had ulterior motives. These documents indicated that Hu Dai had intentionally controlled the Shen family, abandoned them during an escape attempt, and entered the Nai family residence with the goal of making a profit. King Xia was influenced by Zhao Ying and started trusting him more, especially after seeing that Hu Dai didn't go through with burning down the Nai family's house. King Xia also became convinced that Hu Dai had fallen in love with Naizhen. So King Xia intentionally poisoned Hu Dai, hoping that Naizhen would go searching for an antidote, even though it put her own life at risk. Learning this, Hu Dai pleaded with King Xia to reveal where Naizhen was. On the other hand, Naizhen had found the person King Xia mentioned, who turned out to be Zhao Ying. However, before Zhao Ying gave Naizhen the antidote, he asked Naizhen to try an untested potion. Hearing that, Naizhen agreed, but the potion quickly caused him to suffer. At the same time, Hu Dai, still weak, rushed to find Naizhen. Meanwhile, Zhao Ying made a bet with Naizhen, giving him a gun. He said that if Naizhen survived, he'd get the antidote. In the end, Naizhen did survive and got the antidote. On his way back, he found Hu Dai waiting outside the gate. But shortly after, the effects of Zhao Ying's experimental potion acted up again. On the flip side, King Xia continued giving medicine to Naifeng, causing him to lose mobility and constantly tremble. Soon after, Hu Dai went back to King Xia, seeking a way to stop all of this. King Xia claimed that Hu Dai had returned everything to her, including Naizhen. Hu Dai, who only wanted Naizhen to survive, reluctantly agreed. In the evening, she gathered reporters and publicly declared that she wasn't King Xia and wanted to distance herself from the Nai family. Meanwhile, Naizhen had just woken up from fainting and was desperately searching for Hu Dai. From that point on, King Xia had control over the Nai residents. She even imposed herself as the head of the Nai family by pressuring Naifeng. Furthermore, she had the military in Hongdou City under her command, including the 3 loyal commanders who had always followed Naifeng and Naizhen. Some time later, Naizhen was seen feeding his father. Despite his hatred for his father, he still felt a sense of love. However, King Xia saw this as ironic. She also reminded Naizhen that without the antidote she provided every 3 days, Naifeng wouldn't survive for long. After Naizhen left, Zhao Ying appeared and reminded King Xia that Naizhen could be a potential puppet they could use. Afterwards, King Xia tried to seduce Naizhen but failed to get his attention, leaving her quite upset. Meanwhile, Duran returned to Hongdou and met Hu Dai. During this time, he had investigated and discovered Hu Dai's true parents, the Hu family, who were wealthy in Jiangsu City. Initially, the Hu family faced threats from their enemies, so they sent 2-year-old Hu Dai to a friend's place in Hangzhou. Unfortunately, Hangzhou City was in turmoil due to war, and the person carrying Hu Dai got seriously injured. Eventually, the injured person entrusted her to the Shen family and never revealed her true identity to avoid trouble. So Hu Dai grew up as a servant in the Shen family, and the Hu family believed she was their own due to a birthmark she had. Then, Dorn advised Hu Dai to return to the Hu family for safety, but she insisted on taking Naizhen with her, even if it meant risking their lives. On the flip side, Naizhen discovered that King Xia had been handling documents for the past month. There he overheard a conversation between King Xia and Zhao Ying, learning that they were trying to find an address to rescue someone. Later on, Naizhen pretended to be affectionate towards King Xia to gain her trust. Eventually, she found out that Zhao Ying was part of a rebellion committee and had friends who were captured by Naizhen before. So Zhao Ying was trying to help them escape. Armed with this information, Naizhen pointed a gun at King Xia and advised her not to easily trust men in the future. He then took King Xia hostage, but she managed to escape. Not long after, news of Naizhen's escape reached Duran. Shortly after, Naizhen arrived at the Shen family residence to meet Hu Dai. Unfortunately, he couldn't involve Hu Dai in a conflict that might put her in danger, so they could only communicate from behind a closed door. Eventually, Naizhen turned and left, leaving Hu Dai behind. Despite her pain, Hu Dai continued to devise a plan to free Naizhen from captivity. She believed that as long as Naizhen remained alive, he would find a way to resolve the conflict. Dorn also had faith in Hu Dai's determination to save herself and the Shen family. Then he sent his father out of town and entrusted control of the Shen family house to Hu Dai. Besides that, Dorn gave her access to all the Shen family assets and the family seal. Some time later, Dorn and Naizhen met up to discuss the extent of King Xia's power. Dorn also shared the address of the Hu family with Naizhen as per Hu Dai's plan. Meanwhile, Hu Dai had sold off the Shen family's assets to fund her own plan. She was aware that King Xia was searching for new captives and would likely target her. When Naizhen expressed concern for Hu Dai's safety, Dorn emphasized that he would also enter Naizhen's residence to rescue her. On the other hand, King Xia was frustrated because she hadn't located Naizhen yet. In the end, Naizhen decided to return to the Shen family residence to search for Hu Dai. However, King Xia encountered Dorn in disguise and grew angry, demanding to know Naizhen's whereabouts. Dorn remained silent. Meanwhile, Hu Dai and Naizhen finally reunited and let go of their longing for each other. Naizhen then took Hu Dai away from Hongdou City to investigate everything thoroughly and find the right opportunity to save Dorn. However, Hu Dai had different plans. She wanted to free King Xia from those who were exploiting her, so she chose to stay as a hostage and take the risk. Unfortunately, Naizhen couldn't change her mind. Sometime later, Hu Dai met King Xia and informed her that she'd willingly become a hostage while Naizhen went to save the people of Hongdou. However, to her surprise, Naizhen showed up unexpectedly, not following her plan. He then asked King Xia to release both Hu Dai and her associates while he stayed behind to provide crucial documents related to the rebellion committee that Zhao Ying sought. Before Hu Dai left, Naizhen gave her a precious pen left by his mother, symbolizing that the pen and Hu Dai were equally valuable to him. However, she couldn't bear the separation and broke free from the soldier's grasp, hugging Naizhen tightly. Shortly afterward, Wang Ping appeared and believed that Naizhen had killed his elder sister, who turned out to be Liu, Nai Feng's second wife. Wang Ping then shot Naizhen, causing him to fall from the bridge. At that time, King Xia was furious with Wang Ping's actions, but he promised to obey her orders from that point on. Some time later, Hu Dai returned to her family's home in Jiangxi and reunited with her father, Mr. Hu. She began living in the city and was protected by Naizhen's right-hand man, Lian Texu. Although Hu Dai had many things to say to Naizhen, they were separated, so she wrote everything down in her diary. Meanwhile, Naizhen was still alive, but had been captured by rebels in Hongdo. They had tied him up and tortured him in an attempt to uncover his true identity. There, he claimed to be a jewelry craftsman from the Yu family, who had ended up in Hongdo while fleeing after being accused of jewelry theft. On the other hand, King Xia continued to hold Duran captive and pressured him to tell all the information he knew. There, he admitted to sharing the information with her and remained confident that Naizhen would return to rescue him. The next day, Hu Dai was at home reading a love letter her father had written to her mother many years ago. As she immersed herself in the heartfelt words of the letter, Naizhen suddenly appeared dressed as a general. Hu Dai couldn't contain her overflowing longing for him, and Naizhen missed her deeply as well. They were both filled with longing for each other. Unexpectedly, Wang Ping suddenly showed up, revealing that he and Naizhen had been planning Naizhen's fake death all this time. Afterward, Naizhen began investigating the rebellion committee and the true identity of Zhao Ying. After tracing through numerous false identities, Naizhen finally discovered that Zhao Ying was the director of the intelligence bureau of Yuzhou City. He also had access to Zhao Ying's family information, shifting the balance of power in favor of the Yuzhou military and leaving no more secrets in Hongdo. Therefore, Naizhen decided to return to Hongdo with Hu Dai. Before returning, Naizhen paid his respects to Mr. Shen and Mr. Hu, promising to protect Hu Dai and rescue Doran and King Xia. Both Mr. Shen and Mr. Hu were delighted to have Naizhen as their son-in-law. They exchanged satisfied glances and happily drank the tea Naizhen offered them. Not only them, but Lian Su, who was both a subordinate and friend of Naizhen, was overjoyed to see him return safe and sound. After all of that, Naizhen and Hu Dai made a clear agreement to stay together and seal it with a kiss. Meanwhile, back at the Nai family residence, King Xia was tending to Nai Feng's medical needs. Soon after, Zhao Ying arrived and demanded that King Xia eliminate the three main commanders in order to gain access to secret documents. Although King Xia didn't want to stir up trouble among the people of Hongdo, she had no choice but to comply with Zhao Ying's request. In the evening, Naizhen sneaked into the Nai family's house and located Doran. There, he quickly freed Doran and took him away. Meanwhile, Liu Shu appeared and aimed a gun at King Xia, instructing her to go see Hu Dai. Hu Dai then handed over documents containing Zhao Ying's true identity information, explaining that Zhao Ying was the director of the Yuzhou Intelligence Bureau, who had come to Hongdo to steal important information. However, King Xia stated that it wasn't important to her. Nevertheless, Hu Dai emphasized that what mattered most to her was King Xia herself. This touched King Xia emotionally, but she then told Hu Dai not to expect her to return to her former self because it was impossible. However, Hu Dai disagreed. At first, Hu Dai thought that reuniting King Xia and Naizhen would be impossible, but now they were together and it felt real. She believed that the old King Xia would also return. This realization made King Xia reminisce about their close relationship from their childhood to adulthood. Then, she started to cry and hugged Hu Dai tightly. Some time later, King Xia followed Zhao Ying's instructions and held a press conference to announce the removal of the three main commanders of Hongdo. Surprisingly, during the conference, King Xia revealed Zhao Ying's true identity as the director of the Yuzhou Intelligence Bureau, who had infiltrated Hongdo with the intention of causing harm. Suddenly, King Xia and Hu Dai merged with Wang Ping and revealed his disguise. At that moment, Zhao Ying found himself surrounded by Naizhen's soldiers and unable to escape. However, Naizhen, who wasn't fond of guns, didn't want to witness his soldiers executing Zhao Ying. Unexpectedly, Naifeng appeared and shot Zhao Ying in the head. It turned out that King Xia had injected him with adrenaline, allowing Naifeng to stand and act. He then apologized to Naizhen for causing him suffering and apologized to the people of Hongdou. Finally, Naifeng reconciled with Naizhen before passing away. In the end, Naizhen took over the position of Great General of Hongdou, replacing Naifeng. He was joined by Hu Dai and the loyal main commanders to protect Hongdou, and the drama ends. The moral lesson from this drama is if you have an enemy, don't fight him and just kiss him. 'Cause who knows, maybe he'll melt down and ask you to marry him.